Hello and welcome to another episode of The Long Rest. I'm one of the hosts, Logan,
And I'm Brandon.
and today we're going to be talking about things that we wish we knew before we ever started DMing. So, without further ado, let's hop into this discussion.
The list probably is longer than we'd like to admit. I think, and maybe most DMs probably feel this way. I mean, it's always easy to play hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
That game.
No kidding.
But some of the things that we think is pretty interesting are, interestingly enough, for us would be don't go in with that preconceived notion of how that campaign's going to go. It's so easy to go, well, oh man, this is going to be the first part, this is going to be the exact next part that follows, this is the third arc that's going to follow, and all that is going to lead up to this big bad evil guy in this spot at this time perfectly.
Yeah, I think it's a very common occurrence for that to get way off the rails so early on, just from what the players want to push as a story, where the story will unfold naturally. And there's no better example than having an entire session one prepped out and then not even getting to that first combat encounter because your players are off doing whatever the heck it is that those players are going to be doing.
Yeah.
Already running off the rails that you had laid before them, which is getting into railroad territory in the first place. But even then, just breaking past that preconceived notion, being prepared for a story to unfold and be told together.
Yeah, true. And as a DM, it's important to remember, everything that's going to happen. You created the story. If it's a homebrew campaign, you know what the direction is going to be. So it's easy for you to kind of think, and I've fallen into this trap before, where I know that this is going to happen, and so I think that this is how they'll react, but I might know other information that maybe I haven't shared yet, and that's maybe influenced my decision making, to where from a player's perspective, they don't have all that information. So the decision making that they make is totally different than mine, which naturally everybody thinks differently. So they might just think naturally different than what we do.
Exactly.
In that moment. So it's okay to completely backpedal. When you're starting it out, and maybe this is your first homebrew campaign, it's completely okay to have a great idea of what you have, but what happens in that game on that first, second, third session isn't what you had planned, that's totally fine. You can reskin some ideas, re-push them into different sections, allow your party to tell the story.
Yeah.
I think that's our big push on that first point, is just allow them to be the storytellers.
Yeah.
And you're the facilitator.
Because it's truly a collaborative story, and that's what makes it the most fun for you, the DM, and the players themselves. That's when they're going to be enjoying that story the most, is as you all are telling it around the table. So you're throwing that preconceived notion out of the side, but then even just broader, whenever you are preparing, focus on what matters to what's exactly happening right now or in the next nearest future. That way, whenever it does immediately take a different path, you kind of have that world underneath you to where you can just start improving.
Yeah.
How the NPCs are going to react to certain actions, or one way or the other that the characters choose to go. How NPCs will react. What is in that area at that time, what's going on in that town or in the city, or even beyond the city out while they are adventuring. If there's going to be a dragon in that location, or if it's just going to be goblins or another town, whatever it be. You kind of have that stuff prepared. That way, whenever things go in that direction, you're not completely taken off guard.
Right. And I'm not, or I should say we're not naive enough to think that you don't learn some of these things the hard way, and you will just have to do it, and then you will slowly figure it out, which by no means are neither one of us perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But I've kind of discovered that it works well in my shoes, that when I know the party's going to be going to, say, a new town, I don't flush the world out nearly at all. I like I did when I first started. But when I know the party's moving in a direction that I don't have completed to my comfortability, that's when I'll focus on it.
Mm-hmm.
I allow myself to just let that be on the back burner until the time is right. And so when I know the party's pushing into this new zone or this newer area to go to these places, okay, now it's time for me to go and flush this out to where I'm comfortable, and then what I think I can improv in, and then what they need to know, like concrete wise, then I'll get those knocked out.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest thing is framing the scope of the setting. Does it matter what's happening on a global scale? Does it matter what's happening in that one town, in that one area? Maybe the entire galaxy? Does that matter? Just kind of know the scope of where your players can go. That way you're better prepared for those situations.
Yeah.
And truthfully, I think the funniest moment I've ever had in a campaign is one of my DMs. He was not prepared for us to go to this location, so he just stonewalled us. He said, that location, the moors, are under construction. That path, that road is blocked. You cannot go it. He did the classic Pokemon route where you cannot.
Snorlax is laying there.
Yeah, Snorlax was laying there. We couldn't go that way. And so we just had to go on and come back.
That's interesting.
It was funny. It was so funny because it was his own world. You know, he knew that world, and he was just like, punt, nope.
Yeah, that is very funny.
I loved it. It's a running joke in our campaigns now, where like that area is just under construction. You know, I don't think we ever went there, truthfully.
Well, at this point, you never can.
Yeah, exactly.
Forever.
Yeah, we got to wake up Snorlax. So be creative at the table, you know, and know that your players know you're just as human as they are.
That's super funny. That's a very, very good route. Well, maybe we'll all put that in the back pocket. Hopefully every table takes it as well as you did. So.
Yeah. So beyond just world building and kind of knowing how to shift gears of the campaign, I think one thing I would really like to work on personally, even now, is clarity and consistency of rules.
Which is a very tough one, because that book is not small.
No.
And there are many, many rules.
Yeah, and knowing all of them off the top of your head, oof, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
You've got to be kind of like a Rain Man situation, 97X, bam, the future of rock and roll, just to know all the rules off the top of your head without having to reference them or go to Google or whatever. But more importantly is if you rule it one way, being consistent with that ruling. It's one thing to say, hey, instead of wasting our time around the table, let's not dwell on this rule. Let's rule it this way. I'll revisit that. We'll touch base before the start of next session.
Yes.
And that is how we will rule it from then on out. Because again, we're not perfect.
That would be my advice anyway. If you run into a rule that you get very questioned about in that moment, don't dwell on it.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay not to have to go look it up. It's okay not to do this. Just say, hey guys, we're going to rule it this way tonight, and we're in the off time before next session. I'm going to make a finalized decision, and when we start next week's game, I'll be like, hey, so we are going to stay with that decision, or no, I think this route is better for you and me, and this is the route that it'll be from here on forth. And, you know, have a pen and paper and write that stuff down, or have somebody, you know, a Word document or whatever have you. So that way it's just kind of like, now it's written down. There's kind of no excuse for a player to even take advantage of it, or the DM to take advantage of that.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing, truthfully, is the consistency of your ruling makes it a fair game.
Yeah.
Because nothing's worse than a player trying to accomplish something because somebody did it 6 sessions ago, last session, 10 minutes ago, and they'd be like, well, why did they get to do it but my character didn't?
Yes.
Like, that's not fair.
And this is where I think we kind of tie into that rule of cool / raw DMs.
Yeah.
Which I think I don't mind rule of cool, but it gets hairy in situations where, oh, you let X player do that.
Yeah.
Now, why can't I do that this week? Because it's not cool enough? I think there's a you know what I mean? There's a fine line. Just because I didn't like jump off the back of this moving horse and do a backflip and land on said guy, I can't make it. I can't make this happen. But he was able to do this last week.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah, it really is.
And that's what the rules are meant to do, is make things fair. And I get it. Sometimes there might be times where you bite that off and go, okay, this is the one time, like, big bad fights happening. This is really cool. This is a great way to go out.
Yeah.
There are certain moments in my eyes, but I'm much more of a raw guy.
Yeah.
Like, the rules are very
is
important.
written.
Yeah.
Rule of cool has its time and place.
Yes.
Is what you're saying.
Yes.
That rule of cool DM might be fun in the moment, but things really start to get like you're building off of shaky ground at that moment where who knows what the heck the ruling's going to be next session.
Yeah.
So it's hard to account for that as a player. It's hard to know what you can and cannot do, and then all of a sudden you're trying to do something cool and the DM stonewalls you. Which would
be not interesting, but important maybe.
Mm-hmm.
If you're new out there, just do your best to stick to the rules as written, and allow yourself to get comfortable with them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you make new rulings on stuff, make sure it's kind of a collaborate effort between you and the table, to where everybody's on the same board.
Yeah.
And then from there, when you really get your shoes wet and you're really comfortable, that's maybe when you can start really diving into some other rules of cool stuff, to where you feel like you have a good balance. Because you would hate to put players out because nothing ever went their way, but you do have certain players that they always get that side of life. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of in that same vein is communicating better with your players.
Yeah,
we've all made that mistake, and that's one of the things that I did. I feel like on the first campaign that I ran at our home game was not checking in with the players, and then feeling the burnout of them losing interest in the campaign because I wasn't checking in. I wasn't asking, are you guys enjoying the story? Are you guys enjoying the direction? Where do you want to see it? And that's something that I try to do regularly with what we're doing, is being like, even on half times, after sessions, just touching base with you and going, man, do you like where we're going? How did you like that story? Did you like it when I did X, Y, Z? Because nothing's worse than your players being dissatisfied with the way the game's going. Because it's going to lead to an early into a campaign.
Yeah, and I will say that it is a fine line. Like, I hope you don't ever feel that there's a lack of confidence in your ability, because you do a great job.
Oh,
and I think that is an easy line to be like, okay, now I just don't trust myself as a DM. And I think, not that you feel that way necessarily by any means, but I think that could translate to the game. Because now if you're like a little nervous in all the decisions you're making as a DM, their players might be like, okay, well, he's nervous about progressing the story along because he's not sure if we like it or not.
Yeah.
So I think as a new one, you hit the nail on the head though. Checking in with your players regardless, after every session, and even more specifically one-on-one, if you are having a party outside of our one-on-one D&D, people are more open to talking one-on-one with you,
Yeah.
And just making sure there's no, what's the right word? Revenge if they are honest, and they're brutally honest. Criticism, although it can be good, can be bad.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's within the right heart from the players. But, you got to take it with a grain of salt and go, okay, cool, I'm just going to get better from this.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. It might burn a little bit. They might not like that I do this. Okay, well, I shouldn't do it because they got echoed between 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 players,
Yeah.
So I will just learn from it and I'll do better.
And that truly leans into telling that collaborative story.
Yeah.
It's not just the DM story. That's how players lose interest in a campaign, is if it's just a one-sided story. The players will start being like, well, what's my point of being here? But if you can help grow yourself to make that story better with the players all along, you're all going on that same journey, that same adventure. And it makes for magic around the table, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then that feeds directly into it. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what makes a story a group telling.
Yeah.
Is when everybody's on the same page, and it goes. If we flip the script a little bit, and it goes for players too. I mean, as a player, you can also go around and say, hey, am I doing what I need to do? In which maybe it's a little bit more of a fine tooth, because not every player is going to play the same. Not everybody is going to like as much role play. Not everybody's going to like all the dramatics. There's going to be different levels to the situation. But hey man, you're on your phone a lot.
Yeah.
I'd appreciate if you weren't on your phone. Or hey, you start singing a bunch, and I can't hear what the DM's saying. It's not that you have bad vocals. I just want to be able to hear what the dungeon master saying. You know what I mean? So it goes around everybody. And so as long as everybody's willing to take the criticism, boy, your games are just going to be up.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. Kind of transitioning to a different point. That kind of I was thinking about while you were talking about that was I have a tendency to not play things very close to the chest. I'm bad at keeping secrets and surprises. And so I know portions of my games have been ruined just because of my open and honesty behind the screen, where I'll be like, man, if I hadn't have said that, I think that reveal to the players would have been so much more impactful than them going the next few sessions knowing that this is behind the scenes. Again, keeping the magic alive of being the DM, of having that unfolding story for the players, keeps their interest, keeps your interest. And if things shift drastically, it doesn't look like you're a dummy promising things and under delivering.
Yeah, which is true. Suspense is important, and good and bad suspense. So when you get the opportunities for those, sometimes it gets really hard. You get really giddy. You're like, I'm just so excited for you to see like this big twist and like this little plot twist that I've discovered and made for you. You know, and when that moment comes and you're like, oh, I could admit it now and tell them this is it. You know, but boy, if you would have just let them discover it, let them be the ones to unveil it. That's when, you know, there's some magic there to happen, and that is very tough. It gets internally very exciting to be able to be like, oh, I worked on this. You know, for the past 25 sessions, I've been delving this bad guy into your party, and you had no idea. You know, it gets hard.
I've always admired you for your ability to play things so close to the vest, because I think we've gone entire campaigns where we've had a question since like session 4, and it never got revealed. Like for instance, the last campaign, there was this whole Bullywug arc, never got explored, but it was like, why were the Bullywugs so mad that we tried to transport horses across a river that it caused an all-out war between them and the surface, and we never touched on that. It was joked about the entire campaign, hinted on, but that thread is just up in the air. And you did that so well. And then, like, in my mind, I'm so proud of the story that I'm putting together with you guys that I want to share it with you immediately. So I'm just like, let's talk about the fact that these Bullywugs have XYZ going on or whatever.
It gets hard.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Yeah. So it's tough. Gosh, yeah, that's funny. Sorry. Thank you. That's a great compliment. So speaking about players, and we've discovered this several times in our games, is players, unbeknownst to us, because I've done it sometimes, you around the table, you start talking yourself in circles of information, and pretty soon you've been talking about the same concept for an hour, and you're not any further than you were 60 minutes ago. So being able to control that as a dungeon master, and at least like not putting a stop to it isn't the right way, but help learn your party, put your party in the right path in some fashion.
Gentle guidance is the way I would word it, because like I know you got frustrated with us last campaign because I think we spent 2 to 3 sessions the same day within a few hours across multiple sessions. And mind you, these are like 3-4 hour long sessions spread across multiple weeks, sometimes even months, because we had to miss, and we got nowhere fast. And it bogged down the campaign, and that was truly on the players then, because we were not progressing the story. And the only thing you could have done differently is push the story. And you did. You ultimately did. You had an NPC that just said, you know what? If you guys are not making a decision, I am making my own. And if you guys want to intervene with that, cool. But this is my decision. I'm doing it right now. And that forced our hands.
Yeah, which, hindsight 2020, that's what we're talking about, is I should have stepped up before that and helped guide. And there are different ways. You can have NPC, and it goes for many different types. It can be from the players talking in a circle to where an NPC does something, or a small vision from a god very quickly, innately points it in a small direction, or if they're in a certain area, just something flashes in one of the PC's eyes that helps guide them in this section because they don't know where to go next. Just a little tidbits of guidance, soft guidance, like you said, make the world of difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And or even just rehashing what the players have said 7 times over. If you just say, hey guys, like above table, this is what I'm gathering from you. I, as a DM, want to be able to prepare that to the best of my ability, so I need a clear direction. Is this the direction you're going? Because if you guys are planning this whole plot, I want to make sure your plot comes to fruition, so it's satisfying for you guys, and it gets the story that it deserves, that the effort that you guys have put into it. So let me make that happen for you. Clarify with me what your goals are, and that gently tells the party, like, hey, let's solidify this. Let's quit beating around the bush and just get to business.
Yeah, it gently kind of like gives them the confidence to make the decision. If you do it the right way, it's not to where you're like, feel like you're like, okay, you guys are doing this, I'm telling you what you're going to do. You're giving them the option, and they're like, well, we have to make a decision. So now I need to let him prepare for this. So that's a great way to do it.
Or you can just straight up iron fist it and be like, look, guys, you guys set a timer. You did that all the time. We had a little hourglass. You would just take the timer and flip it over on the table. I would watch that thing so intently, every single grain of sand falling through that dang hourglass. And I'm just listening to the party going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, getting nowhere. Meanwhile, this stupid timer is ticking away. And I'm just hoping that whenever that last grain of sand falls, you're not paying attention to it, so that way we do have that extra time, because I know for a fact we ain't making no decision. Nothing happened.
Time is pressure sometimes, and that's what I've kind of tried to play with a little bit in those regards, where like, okay, if I put your feet to the fire, what can you do? And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. So it is what it is. You gotta try things, and that's always kind of been an interesting one, because you can tell the players that get a little nervous, that like, oh gosh, I can't even think anymore because now there's a time clock.
Especially if you don't even announce what that timer's for.
If
you just put it out in front of them, a visual reminder of the players of the time that they are taking up right now, they immediately start thinking like, uh-oh, something's going to happen when that last grain of sand falls. Whatever it is, we need to make a decision right now, so that we're prepared for whatever happens, or we just avoid it altogether.
True. True.
Yeah.
Rotating into another section is when the time is right, be comfortable to really narrate the scenes in combat, but doing it efficiently. So like, and maybe this is actually the opposite. You don't, when I first started, I felt the need to like narrate everything. I felt like every time you walked into a place, every time you walked into something, I always felt the need that I had to really narrate. I had to give you the senses. I had to give you, what do you smell? What do you see? What do you feel? What do you hear? Excuse me.
Which is never bad.
No, but there's a point where I think you can overdo it.
Yes.
Your brain gets tired. You start to lose your voice because you're talking more than all the players combined. You're narrating so much that I think you're giving over information. Now, when it's important, by all means, set that scene. But it's okay to be a little quick, 1 sentence, 2 sentence structure, identification here. This is what this looks like from the outside as you walk in. And you see 1-2 sentences of description. You don't have to break down into like a quick monologue of what it is.
Yeah. Most importantly about that is knowing the players.
Yeah.
Because some players and some groups are really good about theater of the mind.
True. And
some of them just cannot get past that. I know at our home game, we're pretty good at theater of the mind, I would anticipate, or at least that's my assumption. But I have a separate campaign that I play over like online, and we have had so many arguments about theater of the mind because a couple of the players just cannot picture what's going on. And
Yeah,
so it becomes
it
just
happens.
mass confusion of being like, well, I don't know where I'm at, I don't know where they're at, I don't know what's going on or the setting, because they just can't put that picture together.
Yeah.
So knowing your players and how to best set them up for success is probably the biggest thing in that. But knowing you don't have to set that full scene every time. Sometimes it can just be quick. Sometimes it's completely unimportant to the story. You don't have to describe every blade of grass or how the grass feels under feet. Just you're in a prairie.
Yeah.
How simple is that? Like, you guys have your own imagination of what that looks like.
Correct.
So it's flexible, but it allows for your imagination to run wild.
And I don't think it's important for combat. I think that's like the big nail here is it's combat can quickly delve into the I roll to attack.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no bonus action. You just run 30 feet over here. Okay, now it's your turn. Yeah, I also just roll to attack.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's your turn. And as a DM, you got to kind of take those moments and just help paint the picture in those moments. So, okay, yep, you step to the left and with a big arching swing, you make great contact with your great axe across his waist, and then yep, the other guy, you'll just blast his shoulder. I mean, just setting like a few descriptive moments just to help keep pushing that scene along. And I think that helps. And I've seen it from both, from being a DM and a player. I think as a player, I think it really helped me visualize that fighting scene,
Mm-hmm.
and then allowed me to be a little bit more descriptive as a player when I say, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to step to the opposite side where he just got that massive gash wound, and I'll try to attack him from that side when he's not looking, because now that scene's painted.
Yeah.
So.
And on top of that, it kind of also lets the players know the progress of the battle, instead of just like this endless slog of. You can see your own visual wear and tear on your player character sheet, but you cannot see that sheet of the monster or whatever you're fighting. And so in the back of your head, you see yourself with 14 hit points and no spell slots, all your smite's gone, your action surge is out the window, your key points are gone, whatever it is. You have no resources, and you don't know what's coming next, and you have no idea how that monster is looking. But if the DM can describe the slow wearing down of the monster and the fact that right now they're haggard, they're breathing heavily, blood is staining the ground all around them, their hits are coming in weaker because of their exhaustion, because of what you guys have put them through, that encourages the players to be like, the end is in sight. We have made progress. Let's finish this.
Yeah, and I mean, especially if you can really conquer that,
mm-hmm.
that makes my gears like turning now. You don't even have to use like the description of like, well, he's bloodied, or he's not looking great, like he's looking rough.
Yeah.
Like you've already been melding that in every single time, even with just small little descriptions. And so your player's like, okay, yeah, like we are getting close as long as you're consistent.
Yeah.
Throughout combats. But like that's would be a really cool way for them to be like, okay, guys, it's all in. Like I'm not running away. I'm gonna take the risk of going down here. I think we're almost there. Excuse me. So yeah, I think that's really cool.
It can also lead to really awesome moments where the players are like, let's just all or nothing this right now. Like
absolutely.
let's blast through that last spell slot, that last ability that I've been holding on to, because I know in this moment that action surge is gonna make all the difference.
Yes, absolutely.
That upcasting is gonna tip him over the edge.
Yeah.
And that maybe even helps clue in the DM of being like, let's fudge some numbers here. Like let's go ahead and end this because I can see how much the players are struggling.
True.
Because sometimes you don't know what the players' hit points are at, unless you have an online service to where everybody's hit points are visible. Like us, when we play across the table from each other, sometimes I just have to check in and be like, how is Carson looking? Because like I don't know.
Which one-on-one's a little bit more serious in
mm-hmm.
battle because it's only one.
Yeah.
But absolutely. That is
man. I think we've covered a lot of topics here, and the worst part is there's so many other things that are burning through my head of things that I wish I have improved on.
That scroll just keeps going.
It does.
It's that one you open up and it just rolls down the stairs.
Yeah.
You always can look back and be like, man, I wish I do this. I'm very crucial on myself, and every time I end a campaign, I go, "Gosh, I wish I would have done this
Yep.
better, and I could have done this better."
Yeah.
So I understand.
Yeah. But before we make this video into 2 hours long, I think
True.
this is the perfect time to end it and just open up the discussion to you guys down in the comments. Most importantly, when you're down in the comments, commenting down below is going to enter you into our Turtle Tabs giveaway.
One of the last opportunities you'll have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So be sure to just comment down below, get you into that entry, but also just starts a discussion with us and the community that we're trying to create here. So by all means, get down there, like, comment, subscribe, do the YouTube thing.
Yeah, smash the buttons. And I'm sure you have something that's itching at your guys' brains. What advice would you give to new DMs out there?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah,
because we could use it.
Yeah, we'll write it down and apply it to ourselves. So, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next long rest.
Thank you so much.
See you.